Hi everyone! Today Miss Rem is going to read you a book about a sea animal. What sea animal is this? That's right, it's a seahorse, a rainbow seahorse. This book is called Mr. Seahorse. Mr. and Mrs. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea. Mrs. Seahorse began to wiggle and twist this way and that. "It's time for me to lay my eggs," he said. She said, "Can I help, Mr. Seahorse?" "Oh yes, thank you, Mrs. Seahorse." And she laid her eggs into a pouch on Mr. Seahorse's belly. "I'll take good care of our eggs," said Mr. Seahorse, "I promise." As Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed right by a group of trumpet fish hidden in a patch of reeds. Look, it's hiding in here. These are some trumpet fish. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. "How are you, Mr. Stickleback?" asked Mr. Seahorse. "Delighted," replied Mr. Stickleback. "I just built a nest, and right away Mrs. Stickleback laid her eggs into it. Now I'm taking good care of them until they hatch." "Keep up the good work," said Mr. Seahorse, and swam away on its own. As Mrs. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed right by a lionfish hidden behind a coral reef. Ooh, what's behind this coral reef? Let's see. That's a lionfish. See, it was hiding behind a coral reef. That's called a lionfish. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. "How are you, Mr. Tilapia?" asked Mr. Seahorse. Mr. Tilapia couldn't answer. His mouth was full of eggs. Can you see? His mouth was full of eggs. I know, said Mr. Seahorse. "Mrs. Tilapia laid her eggs. Now you're taking good care of them until they hatch." Mr. Tilapia nodded his head. "You must be very happy," said Mr. Seahorse, and swam away on his own. As Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed right by several leaf fish hidden among the seaweed. Let's see what's behind the seaweed. Look, these are called leaf fish. Leaf fish. These fish looks like leaves, right? But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. "How are you, Mr. Curtis?" asked Mrs. Seahorse. "Perfectly fine," replied Mr. Curtis. "Mrs. Curtis laid her eggs and I have stuck them on my head." Ooh, look. It's on his head. All the eggs are on his head. Can you see the pink eggs? "Now I'm taking good care of them until they hatch." "You were doing a good job," said Mr. Seahorse, and swam on his way. As Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed right by a stone fish hidden behind a rock. Look at this big rock. There's a stone fish hidden behind it. Do you want to see it? That's a stone fish. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. "How are you, Mr. Pipe?" asked Seahorse. Now, look at Mr. Pipe. Where do you think he's hiding the eggs? Where's Mr. Pipe's eggs? Ooh, I think I see it. Can you see under? Here, the orange ones. How are you, Mr. Pipe? asked Seahorse. Couldn't be better, replied Mr. Pipe. Mrs. Pipe laid her eggs along my belly. Now I'm taking good care of them until they hatch. You should feel very proud of yourself, said Mr. Seahorse, and swam on his way. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. How are you, Mr. Bullhead? This is Mr. Bullhead. Mrs. Bullhead laid her eggs and the eggs hatched. Now I'm babysitting. Oh, look at all these babies, baby fish. You're doing a fine job, said Mr. Seahorse, and swam away on his own. How many fish hatched from the egg? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Wow, 18 eggs, 18 fish. The time had come for the seahorse babies to be born. Mr. Seahorse wiggled and twisted this way and that. At last, the babies tumbled from Mr. Seahorse's pouch. Can you see Mr. Seahorse's pouch? All the eggs were in here. And they all swam away from the pouch. One baby turned around and tried to come back into the pouch. Oh no, said Mr. Seahorse. I do love you, but now you're ready to be on your own. How many babies did Mr. and Mrs. Seahorse have? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 seahorses. The end.